Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Generic Happy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Omar, otherwise known as Generic Happy. And in case you did not know, Nintendo did air a new Nintendo Direct this week on March 27th, 2025. And in this video, I just want to talk about some of my thoughts coming off of that Direct. Think what things I've been thinking about since I've watched the reveals, what this Direct might mean for the future of Nintendo for the year. And yeah, I really enjoyed this Direct. It had a good amount of really cool announcements. I really liked, the big announcements that they had, especially first party announcements. I mean, those were really cool. But there's obviously some questions about, what this Direct means for the future, for the year at least. Not really for like the long-term future, but just like for the year. What's Nintendo's plans for the Nintendo Switch, and maybe how that plays into how they will be marketing the Nintendo Switch, or how they will be doing announcements in the future for the Nintendo Switch. And even how the Nintendo Switch 2 will be impacting the lineup that we see for the Nintendo Switch and some of the games that we see released on the Nintendo Switch. If you do enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like on the video and any of your thoughts down in the comments below. But without further ado, let us get right into it. So yeah, as I mentioned, we just got a Nintendo Direct. I loved this Nintendo Direct. There wasn't I guess, the one major criticism I've been seeing a lot is that there wasn't like the big announcement or the big, new game. In my opinion, there was the announcement of Tomodachi Life. Let me get the title right. Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. And that was a big announcement. In my opinion, obviously, it's not the 3D Mario or the Mario Kart that we are expecting to see in next week's Direct, which I will be having a predictions video soon on. I'm just trying to get everything coordinated with that. But, I think it makes sense, the way that they did these announcements. And I'll talk about the announcements in just a minute, but I really like these announcements. The games that they showed off, again, it wasn't like the biggest games, compared to like previous Directs. I think the one I would compare this most to is actually the March 2018 Nintendo Direct, where there wasn't like the huge announcements leading into that, like the final Smash announcement. We got I believe the reveal of WarioWare Gold in that Direct, and Luigi's Mansion remake for the 3DS, but it wasn't like the huge announcements like the mind-blowing, 3D Mario Kart. It was a Smash announcement at the end. And obviously Tomodachi Life probably isn't as big as Smash, but I think that is what they replicated here. They had a couple of pretty lengthy trailers for games that they've already announced, like Metroid Prime 4 and Legends ZA. But they also did announce, a couple of games for, the Nintendo Switch that they're making in-house, or they're just first-party games. But I guess the one question is, and we'll talk about this in the later half of the video, these games are dated for 2026, the two games that they announced today for the Nintendo Switch. So it does make it a little bit, interesting and seeing how Nintendo will be releasing games, or at least announcing games for the rest of the year for the Switch. Because I can't really see them only announcing or only releasing Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends EA as like their major or like their only games that are launching this year. I do think we will see, a couple of more, and that will probably play into how they will be doing Directs in the future with the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch 1. But without, let's just talk about the games first that they announced and talked about, and then we can talk about what this Direct may mean for the future of Nintendo for the rest of the year. So yeah, Nintendo's website, which is where I'm getting a lot of the lists from, so the list of games they announced, they do have them split in two different sections. So the games that they gave a spotlight to, which is Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake, which was a really cool showing. I honestly didn't expect a Dragon Quest to open up the Direct. I felt I think the shock was that normally a first party game opens up the Direct. Well, not all the time, obviously. We had Monster Hunter open the Direct once. I believe we had Damien X Machina open the Direct one. So it does make sense that obviously a third party can, and this is a very big third party for Nintendo, obviously Square Enix. I'm pretty sure Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D sold best on the Nintendo Switch, so it does make sense to have 1 and 2 HD 2D have a major presence in there. And HD 2D, I mean 3 HD 2D also had a big presence in the June Direct last year. So makes sense. I was a little, shocked. I expected. I guess I can talk about my prediction. I expected Fire Emblem 4 to open in the Direct. We've been expecting to see that remake for a little bit now, but again, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD, very cool, very cool. And then we had a look at Metroid Prime 4. We had the reveal of like one of the locations in Planet Furos, and we saw Samus's Samus's psychic abilities, which is very cool. I guess we'll have to see how she gets that throughout the game. That seems like it's gonna be a pretty major mechanic. They showed it in the trailer with like moving like I think it was like a moving one thing to like open up like a gate, I believe, or like a some sort of thing. But we saw that in the trailer. We saw it in play. I'm assuming that this will be a big mechanic in the game. They didn't give the game a date, which was the one thing I felt like they would do, but I think that does speak to the fact that we probably will see it on Wednesday next week during the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. And so that's largely what I'm expecting at this point, just because we didn't see the date. But that's that's besides the point. This trailer was a really good trailer in my opinion. It did. If you do watch my reaction, the one thing I did point out was the game looks beautiful on the Nintendo Switch. So I am very excited to play it. Either on Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2, whichever one, plays the game the best, I guess, or, if there's enhancements on the Nintendo Switch 2. But, again, very good showing. The other game that Nintendo obviously has had announced, and, they gave another trailer to, was Pokemon Legends EA. This was a big surprise to me, because normally we don't really see Pokemon announcements in the Directs. So it was very cool to see Pokemon in the Direct. The last time we saw it was in 2023 in both the June and the September Direct. So, that kind of defeats the point a little bit, the point I was making. But still, we don't normally see them. They normally do like presents on their own where they drop their own trailers. So they just drop trailers on social media. But this was a new trailer. It showed off a good amount of new footage. We saw a lot more of actual in-game footage and like the Pokemon battling each other, which was really fun. It seems like this game's gonna be focused a lot on battling, which again is gonna be really cool and to see in play. The big announcement was the little tease they gave at the end of the Pokemon Presents with the like battle tower like Lumiose, Lumiose Tower in the background, like the battle mechanic. They announced it as the ZA Royale, which is very cool. I think that's very, it seems like the game's gonna be very battle oriented. Obviously, that makes sense. They're bringing back Mega Evolutions. Presumably, they're going to announce at some point some new Mega Evolutions. That's the one thing that I'm surprised they didn't show off in this Direct. We didn't see a single new Mega Evolution, I don't believe. But again, I think that trailer is really good. The game looks really good. I'm very excited to play it once it releases in late 2025. Maybe we'll see it again next week. Who knows? But I'm very, very, very excited for that game. In case you did not know, I started 2 new series on the channel just focused on that game called the Lumiose Datalog and Lumiose Dialogue, which I might make a video for this trailer for the Lumiose Dialogue in the near future. But yeah, we saw the ZA Royale. You're moving from rank Z to rank A, which maybe that's why it's called Legends ZA. Who knows? But yeah, I'm very, 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 very excited for that game. They showed off a really good portion of it today, and I can't say anything less about how excited I am. I'm very, very excited. But beyond that, we did get 2 new game announcements from Nintendo, and then 2, I guess, like, I don't really know how to explain them. One of them is a Nintendo Switch mechanic for the Switch itself, and then one is a mobile app. We'll talk a little bit more about the mobile app and the mechanic after, but the main games obviously were Rhythm Heaven Groove, a new Rhythm Heaven. For me, I was expecting to see a new Rhythm Heaven here. Especially if this is like the last major focused Nintendo Direct, like direct focused on the Nintendo Switch only. I did expect to see that here because the most recent Rhythm Heaven entries have come at the end of a console generation or right before a new generation starts. So we saw Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2016, right before the Nintendo Switch, and then we saw Rhythm Heaven Fever released on the Wii right before the Wii U released. So it makes sense. I'm very excited to see it. This will be my first time playing through a new Rhythm Heaven as when it launches. But there's not really we didn't really see too much of it. It does seem like it's keeping the Rhythm Heaven feel, which is really awesome. But the other obviously major game, and I mentioned it earlier, was a new Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. We didn't see much of it either. It does look like it's going to be a lot more interactive in terms of what you can do. I'm hoping we talked about this a little bit in the reaction video, or maybe I didn't include in the reaction video, but we talked about it a little bit after the fact that I'm hoping there's like more islands you can go to, and you can have like different amusements on one island and maybe like different stores on another island. It does seem like we didn't see too much of the game. We saw the trailer was like a minute long, and it was just mainly focused on showing the Mii's interacting with each other, which is the main thing of Tomodachi Life. So both these games are releasing in 2026, so we will have another opportunity to probably see them in another direct, probably again in June or later this year. But the other two announcements that Nintendo did give was the announcement of the virtual game cards for the Nintendo Switch. It seems like a new way to like not really trade your games, but like be able to transfer your games over to another Nintendo Switch, or if you want to share your digital games. I believe it has like a 2-week thing where you can share your game with like somebody on your Nintendo Switch family plan. That'd be very cool. I think that's very interesting. I don't fully understand it yet, and we are receiving more information on it through a system update at the end of April. So we'll be able to see how it works in actuality once that system update releases. But it does look really fun. Again, I was just a little confused in the direct about what it really does, because I guess my main confusion was that it didn't seem that different from what we can do now with like the Nintendo Switch. We can just go on and download our games, and then just download our save data off the save data backup cloud server. But I saw somebody say that, and this is probably makes sense. They are, this is a new way to share your games. If you are, it's a new way, and it's a safer way because you don't have to give somebody your account to download the games. And I believe it said that if you don't like need to be online once you transfer the games now, it's just you're moving them back and forth. You don't need to have you don't have to be on your primary system to be able to play it offline. You can play it offline once you transfer it over and move it over, which is really cool. I'm very excited to see how that is in action. And then maybe we'll find out a little bit more about how it works once the update releases. The final thing that Nintendo talked about, and this was actually the final thing in the Direct, was the new Nintendo Today app. It seems like they are connecting it to the Nintendo Direct to Nintendo Switch to Nintendo Direct next week, as they already have the app up. I've been playing around with it a little bit. There's not like too much on it, but I was able to set a reminder for the Direct next week on April 2nd, which is very, very exciting. And then it just has a couple of smaller things, a couple of like there's a Pikmin comic, there's a biography of sorts on Captain Olimar. There's there's a couple of things about like the different series Nintendo has. There is a solo clip of Shiver from Splatoon 3. So it's just like a Nintendo interactive app. It seems like Nintendo is trying to make sure like you are up to date with the news, and it has a calendar, so it's like a also lifestyle app of sorts. They did also confirm in this section that they are going to continue doing Nintendo Directs, as they see that as a very important way to directly communicate with the audience. But I'm not sure that was like a question. Maybe there was like some speculation that Nintendo might move away from the Directs in the future. Just as maybe they want to do something different. But they did confirm they're going to continue doing Directs, starting with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct next week. But yeah, that is all the major announcements we really got in the Direct. There was a couple of third-party things. Everybody's Golf is coming to Nintendo Switch, which was very surprising because that I believe that is a PlayStation franchise or a Sony Interactive franchise. So we'll see on Nintendo Switch later this year. But besides that, we didn't really see many other like big announcements of sorts. So the thing I want to end this video on, like talking about, is like what this direct means for the future of Nintendo for the year. As I mentioned earlier, both Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life are coming out in 2026. So we didn't see anything new announced for Nintendo Switch coming out this year, first party wise. And I can see that being I can see the reason behind that being there isn't really major games and releasing this year for Nintendo Switch that they haven't announced yet. The two major games are probably going to be Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And I can see them wanting to do this direct because they wanted to announce the final major games that will be like marketed on Nintendo Switch, being a new Rhythm Heaven and a new Tomodachi Life. These may be like the final, big announcements, we're probably going to see, obviously we're going to see games that are playable on Nintendo Switch in the future from Nintendo. But I can see this being, they don't want to do too many big announcements that are aimed directly at the Nintendo Switch in future directs. So they did that here. They got them out before the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. And, from here on out, they will be marketed as Nintendo Switch games, presumably, that you can play on your Nintendo Switch 2. But I think, obviously, if they did, like, if they held on to these announcements and they did a direct maybe in June where they announced these both for Nintendo Switch 2, I can see people questioning, like, why are these being announced for the Nintendo Switch, or even just being overshadowed by, a new Mario Kart, a new 3D Mario, maybe a visually enhanced Metroid Prime 4, something like that. So when these get announced, they wouldn't like have the same amount of like reaction or hype around them. Tomodachi Life is very like exciting. Rhythm Heaven is very exciting, but I can see like compared to like Nintendo's other franchises, they might get drowned out a little bit. So I think it was a good idea for Nintendo to do this direct right now, even if it didn't have like the biggest and the biggest announcements that I'm not sure a lot of people were expecting big announcements here. So I think Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life exceeds expectations in that way. For me, I expected the only major new announcement to be Rhythm Heaven and maybe like a new Mario sports game. Tomodachi Life, I think, is more fun than a Mario sports game, or like just more exciting. Just the prospect of it. A new Mario baseball would have been cool, but we will see. Maybe a new Mario baseball announced later this year to be releasing, later, maybe in like the fall or so. The reason why I did want to talk about this is I do think we will see another Nintendo Direct, probably in the June to August section. The June and September. Between then, where we do see maybe one or two shadow drops for the Nintendo Switch, maybe one more announcement like in June for a game that's coming out in like November for the Nintendo Switch. But I don't think we're going to see major announcements for the Switch this year. I think this was the major announcements. I think they want to focus on the Nintendo Switch 2 starting on Wednesday next week, and that's where most of their first party releases this year probably will be. We probably will see something where Metroid Prime 4 maybe has a version that's released on Nintendo Switch 2, or just like marketed with the Nintendo Switch 2 to an extent. Same thing with Pokemon Legends ZA. It's going to be playable on Nintendo Switch 2. So I can definitely see why this direct exists. I am very happy with this direct. I didn't go in with too many expectations. I did expect, maybe a Prime 2 Shadow Drop, or, the rumored Fire Emblem 4 remake, or Kirby Planet Robobot HD. But seeing two new games, that's more exciting to me, at least, because they're two new experiences. But yeah, I don't have too much more to say on this matter. Normally, unlike in these videos, I would talk a little bit more about the trailers, but we saw how beautiful Metroid Prime 4 looks in the direct. That's one thing I think I focused on during my reaction of that trailer. The game does look really good on the Nintendo Switch. So if it looks even better on the Nintendo Switch 2, that's just a plus. I was very surprised to see a Pokemon Legends EA trailer in this direct, but I'm very happy we did see one. And then obviously two major announcements in Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life. We didn't see much of either, so again, we probably will see another trailer for at least one of them. It depends on when they're coming out next year, but we'll probably see another trailer for at least one of them in like again the June/September like range. But yeah, there wasn't really too many big third-party games. Again, as I like, and normally when I make these videos, I would be focused more on talking about the trailers and just how the direct was. But with there not being too much shown about Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, and then the Metroid Prime 4 trailer mainly just being, being really good, but not maybe like the trailer I thought they would do. I thought they would be a little bit more like story based. This one was a lot more mechanic focused, which is fine. We'll probably get the story trailer at some point in the future, but I'm very excited for that when that comes out. And then Pokemon Legends EA, I talked about it here. We didn't see any new megas or anything, so we might see it again next week, and maybe that's where they talk about a new mega. We'll have to see about that. But there outside of those, we got like a new Monument Valley announced, Monument Valley 3. We saw a Tomodachi game, which Tomodachi, that's very cool. But we saw new Story of Seasons, but stuff like that. Again, not like the biggest announcements, but still fun announcements that if you're really interested in a certain genre or a certain game series, maybe you saw it here and you're very excited for another announcement in that series or another entry. But I will definitely have more videos in the future talking about this. Both my reactions, well, I have a Tomodachi Life reaction that also uploaded, so that will be linked down in the comments in the description below, alongside my actual reaction to the direct. But yeah, I was very happy with this direct. Again, I think I would compare it more to the March 2018 direct, or maybe even like the February 2023 direct, where there wasn't like too much news, first party news or anything, but there was still big announcements, and we got the big announcements here. So like if I probably will do a video eventually on this where like I rank the Switch era directs. These are probably like closer to like the middle, so it's still really good direct, but again, just didn't have like the biggest announcements that I think they're probably saving for the Nintendo Switch 2. But yeah, that is all I have for you all today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Once again, if you have any thoughts on this direct yourselves, please feel free to put them down in the comments below. I will reply back to you with, maybe we can start a little dialogue on them, a little discussion. But without further ado, I hope you all do make you happy, because I'm just generic happy, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.